don't get so hasty in our pursuing life, because oftentimes we see something. So even with my sock line, I had the dream and I could easily just want to get started on that as soon as it happens. But being patient and taking the right steps in order for it to be done well.
Welcome, everybody, to the Rallycry podcast. My name is Angel.
My name is Tyler.
And you guys are here because you're working on your self-journey, self-awareness, building on yourself so that you can understand other people. And, you gotta love yourself first before you love others. And today, today is a really special day, special episode. And just before we get into it, and whatever platform you are on, if it's any podcast platform, make sure you give us a follow, and so that you don't miss a second. You could also check us on Instagram at therallycry.podcast, where you could watch all our clips there, so it could just get straight to the point. And yeah, so today, Tyler, what's going on today?
There's a lot of things going on today, man. A lot of colors, a lot of creativity, individualism, entrepreneurship, a lot of great things. And when you're an entrepreneur, you can teach, you can guide, you can spread and give this world knowledge and lessons, because how is this world going to get better without it?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a special guest today, and I just want to say he's an all-time entrepreneur. He's a mentor, a role model, a philanthropist, and he also was on the Wheel of Fortune, which is, that's pretty cool, right?
Spinners.
Yeah. So he has a spin on his life, and he turned his dreams into reality, and literally, and he persevered through the experiences of having other people telling him that is not the way that you should go with life, but he went against the grain. So everybody, welcome Lenny Underwood.
Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Tyler.
Yes,
glad to be here.
I'm glad that you're here. Honestly, I'm so grateful. You are our first guest coming on this show, and I'm honored. And yeah, so we're definitely gonna talk a little bit more about you and everything about all of your experiences, your whole career, and just to get to know you a little bit more. So I know that when it comes to you starting a business, especially, we understand that you have to have a certain mindset with that. And we just want to start with, when you first was trying to start your business, what kind of mindset did you have? And also, when you had that dream, did it take you the next day to execute? Or was it something that it took you a long time to do? Was you scared or anything like that? So just let us know what was that experience like?
Yeah, thanks. So I started my photography business in college. I started off as a hobby, more so in high school as well, taking photos for yearbook and different activities throughout the calendar year. And then in college, I was involved with the yearbook as well there on campus and the student newspaper. So in those days, there was really no social media like it is now. It wasn't as amplified. So a lot of the work that I was finding was not online necessarily. It was on the campus. I would see flyers hung up with different events, and I would oftentimes ask if they needed a photographer or were interested in giving me an opportunity. I was, as I mentioned, a hobbyist, so it wasn't anything official. And my family was telling me, don't pursue a full-time, get a real job. You're not in college for, to become a photographer or to work for yourself. Maybe you can retire, you can do that on the weekends, but not build something that is sustainable. They didn't really see it that way. Even though my grandmother was an entrepreneur herself, she owned a beauty salon. But I think it's just the safety net of having that long-term career, just like we're told, I guess, in society, or we were at least back then, back in the mid-2000s. But I think for me, it was still believing that I'm building something that's sustainable, that can go somewhere, even though I didn't have clear examples from the community, people that may look like me or those that wanted to see me thrive and flourish.
Right.
I knew that there were people in my, church community or family and others that gave me opportunities to hone in on my craft and my skill set. So from there, in 2004, I officially started the business for photography, and it happened, I would say, by accident, by being asked to do to photograph someone's wedding for the first time. So I just said yes. I think just believing in myself, having confidence, stepping out on faith, and saying yes, I've never done it, but I feel as though I'm ready to pursue this opportunity. I think just sometimes we need to be afforded those chances to take risk, if you will, and to believe in ourselves strong enough so that we can prove to those around us that we're able to, make things happen. So, but leading up to that day was not easy. My camera was actually stolen from my car. I was having a breakfast meeting in the area, and someone threw a brick in my car and stole my equipment. I was, a young 19, 20-year-old. So I had my equipment not in my trunk for whatever reason. It was in my back seat, but 10 a.m.,
You wouldn't expect that to happen. Like, that's not.
Yeah. So had a flood in the basement. I was living at home. My family, basement flooding, grandmother passed away. So a lot of things that led to that day, but being resilient and being able to keep it moving. So I was actually teaching photography at that time in Holyoke. So I still went to work that day after I had my camera stolen. Some of my coworkers were saying, "Why are you here?" Well, it's sometimes good to be able to just go through, keep going, and take your mind off of your certain situations. So I was able to get through that. It was leading up to Thanksgiving. Black Friday was the next day, obviously. So I was able to buy my camera. I practiced with the camera most of that day, and then the next day was the wedding, so everything went great. I kid you not. So that was the genesis officially of Underwood Photography, 19 years almost later at this point. And so, I think just kind of betting on yourself and just knowing that there's people around you that will support you, having the right tools and resources to make it happen. I was, as I mentioned, I wouldn't say it. I guess you could say a broke college student, but I felt as though I was rich in many ways, so many other things that money can't buy.
Rich in mindset, abundance.
Yeah, and just motivation, and I was, happy, I was content, and money can't buy that oftentimes. So I think all of those components made for a great story. And so for me, since I didn't necessarily have a mentor back then when it came to business, I made it my mission to mentor others that either in that industry or looking to pursue business full time, or just needed a big brother or someone to be friends with.
Yeah. Well, first I want to say my condolences for your grandmother.
Yeah, thank you.
Because I'm a grandma's boy myself, and so I don't know where I would be necessarily without my grandma. So I know that it was a tough time for you. So I just wanted to say that first. And with all the experiences that you had, like someone break into your car, steal your equipment, being told that, this is something you shouldn't be doing, it's more for fun, and you're doing this photography, you're trying to like go against the grain, all these things. Like in that moment with these experiences, like how did you feel going through that? And what did you have to keep telling yourself every day so that you could keep doing what you got to do? Because a lot of people, we get these opportunities, but we never take them. And I love the fact that you said, like, we have to afford to take the risk and believe in ourselves. Because a lot of times people want to see to believe things, but we have to believe to see. And when we're able to do that, we have a lot more faith into it. And then especially, with your grandma being the entrepreneur she was, she had her own business and stuff like that. Do you think that having these experiences that were so detrimental to you, but still understanding that someone that you cared for so much, your grandmother, do you think she was a big influence to you being an entrepreneur and basically going through that grain because of all those traumatic experiences?
Yeah. So the grandmother that passed was my paternal grandmother, but my maternal grandmother, she's remained with us until, unfortunately, COVID took her life 3 years ago. So that was just that small adjustment. But I think for me, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do at that point. At 19 or 20, I had interest in working for a nonprofit as maybe an executive director or a president, CEO at one point. So I was studying public administration, and then I minored in business. So I just want to keep that business aspect there so that potentially I can go full time into business or just see my business passion grow and thrive, even though, those around me were saying, well, it's still, think about
why I oughta.
Yeah, think about all of the costs that life brings you and the things that you want to see happen in your life. But for me, I graduated college, went on to earn a master's degree, and have no regrets for those things because it's still a fallback plan even at this point in my life. But I just knew that through my faith and my prayers that there was something greater than just what I was being told by those around me, and just kind of having your own moral compass, I guess, when it comes to your direction and where you want to see your own pathway going. Not being a rebel, but feeling as though I may not have to be the typical college student or college grad.
Right. I think too, like when we have certain milestones that we reach, like for me, I got my bachelor's, but who knows for me, I think for myself, I might not even use it. Right. And a lot of times when we think that we have a goal ahead of us and once we reach it, we think we're already done with it. But from what you're telling me, it sounds as if like I reached these goals and I appreciate them, but that doesn't dictate my whole lifestyle. I have so much more to learn. And with that being said, what would you tell the people out there that are listening to us right now having this conversation? What would you tell them? Like, just because you get certain things done doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stop there. So what form of advice would you give someone that got certain things done, but they let themselves down because they don't end up really using that, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of times for me, when I needed to see my pathway changing direction, I sought out several networking opportunities in the local area. So that definitely helped give me different perspectives when it came to where I could see myself thrive in the industry, and not just start the business, but where will I find opportunities that will pay my bills and help me realize my full potential. So that certainly helped me along the way. Certainly pursuing a mentor, if you don't have one already, someone that you can look up to, even if it's a relative, someone that can, help you with your thought process as well, I think is critical when it comes to just life in general, and navigating through these uncharted waters is what I found. And it's been great just having that entrepreneurial spirit. So I've been able to also become a personal trainer back in 2009. And that came organically as well. I think most of what I've done in this entrepreneurial life has been organic when it comes to just things that I pursued. So I think that's the other thing. Sometimes things happen without as much effort as you may think. And knowing that most people are willing to support you and say yes if you just ask the question. The answer will always be no if you don't ask.
Right. And I like how you bring up organic, because a lot of things we would like it for it to be natural, and some things could be forced and a result could come out of that out of nowhere. So when it came to like those difficult days that you had growing up, and especially having your grandmother being the entrepreneur of the family, like, was anything an anchor for you that to remind you that you just have to keep pushing yourself? Like, was there a quote or was there an experience that held you down, so even on the hardest days you still push through?
Yeah, I would say my faith. So I was really, and I still am, devout with going to church and Bible study and having strong examples of leaders around me, be it entrepreneurs or those that are prominent in the community, and people that I can lean on for advice, even if it's from a distance. I would say, seeing them as examples of certain ways to conduct yourself in public, and how you should, continue to pursue higher education or continue education in some aspect, even if it's not formal. So for me, I would say some some scriptures certainly come to mind, and I don't want to go, super religious, but certainly, I don't know if you want me to share any or
of course, why not?
Okay.
Go okay. Hey, I think there's a lot of things in the Bible that is a guideline to actually living life. So yeah, feel free to share. Why not?
Yeah, one is be anxious for nothing. That to me is so important that we don't get so hasty in our pursuing life, because oftentimes we see something. So even with my sock line, I had the dream, and I could easily just want to get started on that as soon as it happens. But being patient and taking the right steps in order for it to be done well, right? And the same thing with photography. I didn't beat down anyone's door for that opportunity because I had to do a wedding. It came in my direction, or doing certain things on a certain collegiate level, or when it comes to anchor businesses, most of them have pursued me, and that is, I think, because of how God has ordered my steps, and just my destiny. So I think going back to that scripture, not being so concerned about things happening overnight, but watching it grow and succeed as it's meant to happen. Right. I often tell people we're going to be here for a while,
right?
Hopefully. So if we enjoy the journey and the process, then I think we're going to be, able to watch things come to fruition. You guys are very young, so I hope you're enjoying the journey that you're on and appreciating it, and not being so, looking for success overnight, but watching it happen in ways that's supposed to.
Yes, I love that whole breakdown as far as that, because as we are young, we are definitely trying to enjoy the journey a lot more. For me especially, I'll say that I've been an anxious person when I was a lot younger, and I've came to realize, like, I don't always want to feel this way. And with that being said, I tell myself that, and I constantly keep telling myself. And when I keep telling myself, I'm able to break through that and not break down. And that's what happens when a lot of times when we're anxious, we break down in that feeling. And if we're talking about entrepreneurship, it's just my individualism. I need to be able to persevere through that. And so, like, right now, like, just doing this podcast with everyone that's listening, you here, is just something that me and Tyler are just truly grateful for. And we're just trying to enjoy the journey. Like, I know I can mess up in certain things. Sometimes I don't say the words right. That's perfectly fine. I'm working on that. I know I'm working on that. Working on certain lighting, stuff like that. Whatever it is that I want to have perfect, right? Or this sense of perfect, because there's no such thing as perfect. It's only that's more of just a bias thing into what other people have their preferences for. But
true.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And we see it oftentimes, people that are trying to build up their physique in the gym. Sometimes people want overnight success, and they're relentlessly, trying to reach certain, goals, and it's good to challenge yourself, but you don't want to go about it in the wrong way when it comes to taking certain supplements or, drugs in order to have the image of being ready for, that next level, because oftentimes those are the individuals that aren't able to do a proper form of a pull up or a muscle up or whatever the challenge may be. So I think it's just so important that we, as I mentioned, just that we're on this journey, and that we forgive ourselves, and that we're patient with ourselves, and that we're listening to the right voices, and that we're, as I said, pursuing mentors or those that can encourage us, or wisdom from books that can take us to that next level.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because a lot of times I think now, especially in this era with technology getting up there, with social media, people obsessively glorify the results, and now to the point where we see people's lifestyle, especially the people that are living good and what is considered living good, at least financially, and being able to see that every day, there could be a lot of ego that's put into it. Now, like, why don't I have that? And it's like, okay, what is the next big thing? Because, like, I don't have any time to waste anymore. I don't have time to invest, because they feel as if they're running out of time because they don't have it. Especially being young now, you know, there's entrepreneurs that are 23 and living it up in Hollywood, and, you know, they have a 6-figure account, and it's like, why can't I do that? And for some people, you know, I think that it's easy to lose sight now that we all have a path, and we don't technically reach our prime until like we're 30s, 40s. Like, we still got to figure things out and navigate, because right now it's okay to mess up. And not saying that we have to be okay with it, but it should be okay. It's okay to mess up, because that's how you learn. That's how you get better, because you can't afford these common mistakes when you're in your 40s, and like, you should already have your career or already be established enough where, if, you know, one of your goals is having a family, you need to be able to provide. You need to be able to be there financially, physically, and mentally, and also be able to lead. And whether you're a man or a woman, there are things that you have to bring to the table in order to sustain what is that lifestyle that you want. And I'm just glad that you bring that up and that you're here today, because a lot of times when we want to persevere, we give up when things get too hard. And especially when we reach that milestone, is like, okay, we don't think, okay, what do I got to do to now reach even better? How much harder do I need to work? It's like, okay, I'm going to just stay at this pace, then another accolade is going to come along the way.
Yeah, and I was having 2 conversations on Sunday, 2 separate conversations with 2 30-year-old males in the area who are going through challenges with, you know, trying to find a sustainable job, and want to do entrepreneurship full time, and relationship issues, mental health issues, all these. And compare themselves to others on social media has been the issue. So one has totally gone offline, and he said that's definitely helped, because he's seen his classmates from grad school that are doing great things, and he's saying, well, why not me? And I said, well, those are just highlights, and, you know, you're doing awesome and you're growing. So just, like I said, forgiving yourself and not comparing. So, and then the other situation similar, but me being who I am, I allowed him to borrow some of my equipment for photography so that he can still have some income and grow, because I think it's important that if we're blessed, and to whom much is given, much is required. I feel, and, you know, that's the word as well. So I think if I'm able to, and I'm not missing out on anything, and I don't want anything in return, you know, out of it, no financial compensation. So I think as a community, and as I've been blessed in certain ways too, I think along my journey, where people have done favors for me and continue to look out for me, and I'm sure for you, you both, it's important that we give back in an aspect as well, be it in kind or financial.
Right. And it's sustaining those relationships. You know, a lot of when we get out of high school, we think that we're all alone, but really it's that we need to find out who we are. And then once we find out who we are, then we find out people who are like us.
Yes.
And when we find people who are like us, we build those relationships where it's not keeping tabs on favors. It's just the idea we're helping each other. How can I help you grow? How can you help me grow?
Yep.
And being able to have these conversations where, you know, whether it's a friend, a brother, or a grandfather, or anything like that, what can I do to help your business flourish? What do you think? What can I do as Lenny, as Tyler, or as Angel? What can I do that will make your life a lot more manageable as you're trying to get up there, or even improve your life?
Yeah, and I find that to be so critical, as I said earlier, where I didn't have anybody to just go up to. There weren't any examples that I saw in the industry, either that was around or one that made even the industry welcoming to me, because I felt as though, you know, I'll be in these spaces, but they didn't really want me to be there necessarily. And even yesterday at an event I was documenting, didn't really get that positive vibe from the photographer that stopped by for about an hour. So there's enough to go around. I often tell people, when it comes to any industry, you go down the bread aisle, there's so many competitors, you know, there's so many different types of water out there, and I'm sure that they make it a little different than the rest, and you have a different eye than I do. We may have the same equipment, but we have different perspectives and settings. So, and they may be interested in your personality, how you come and you run the show. So I think all of those factors are important as we just figure out this life that we're going to live in or continue on this journey.
Yeah. I think that when there's so many kinds of competitors out there, that's when we try to compare and be like, oh, they're doing it better than me, and et cetera. It's like, well, you can use that as an advantage to say that, okay, this is what they're doing. This is something that's working. Maybe I can also ask them, what is it that they're doing that is getting them so successful? And it's like what you said earlier, like just the confidence of asking for help. And a lot of times we stay in our ego. I'm like, oh, I don't want to ask for us help. I don't want to feel like a bother or anything like that. But it's just try. Why not? It's something that I always like saying, like, if you're going to do something, just tell yourself, why not? Like, why wouldn't I do this? Why wouldn't I help this person? If I'm fortunate enough, I want to bring my fortune to this person so now they're fortunate with me. And of course, we had to make sure that it's for the right people and so that, we don't get stabbed in the back, of course, right? There's a balance in life in anything that we do. But I think it's just important that we don't always worry about what other people are doing and worry about what we're trying to just do for ourselves. And when we try to worry about what others do, it just puts us in a stagnant place. Like, we're just not going to move. We're not going to grow. We're just worrying about other people's growth and not our own. And so what happens is that when you're able to find what you're passionate about and bring service to others, that's what your purpose is. And so every time when you was talking about how, if I'm able to help someone, like if I'm lend them my equipment or anything like that, I would say, why not? Because if I'm fortunate enough to do it, it's just helping someone else out. And when you do that, how do you feel when you give that kind of service to others? Because I can say for myself, it's been an experience for me, but I want to hear for when you do these things and give this lending hand to someone else, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's certainly gratifying, and I know certain things are expensive, and if they were given a vision for it, it may not come with the financial resources to support it. One business I was mentoring, he's still considered my mentee. He's branched off and doing things on his own now. He was blessed with a $5,000 grant, and I'm just so happy for him, where that can really amplify his business and take him to a whole nother level. And at 20, that would have been a dream, for me. But I'm able to share with him these resources that are available to him and that he can pursue, and that's just the beginning of more opportunities that will come out of that. But if there aren't those opportunities that either I'm aware of or that person is a recipient of, how can I help them in other ways, be it with equipment or just putting them in touch with someone that can give them a leg up or take them further in their journey. So that's important. But I think it's also good to be cordial, nice, and friendly. That's how we met. Angel, by you paying a compliment and being friendly. And I also found that even when I'm in the gym and I just say, hey, what's up to somebody who I never met, or they might have seen me from a distance, it's amazing how that opens up a conversation. A couple guys recently said, oh, I've been meaning to ask you, about the fitness.
Anticipating.
Yeah. So but in society, often people are, it's just like stay to yourself type mindset. I have my headphones on. Don't make eye contact. Don't ask me no questions. I'm in the zone. Don't bother me. You don't want to. We don't have a half an hour conversation now. So it's all these. It's like a code, if you will, or some type of, whatever the mindset is, or reason behind it. But it's amazing how when you do, how that really. We're all human, and you become more, open or vulnerable and able to share whatever it may be. And it was great last week when I was in the gym. Someone called me over for a fitness tip, and that opened up more information about business and helping out that individual. And he said, and one guy said, yeah, I've seen you before in other spaces, but oftentimes people don't want to bring that up for whatever reason. So I think it's just being willing to share and be it's okay, right?
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I remember when Tyler he's told me, and I kind of stuck with it ever since he said it. But if there's will, there's way. So if you're willing to do what you feel, what you're thinking, then there will be the way of having that answered, of that feeling or that thought. And when you was talking about dreams, it makes me think about how I complimented you, and that was actually your socks. It was literally the first thing, and it standed out so well. Like, I think it was just me leaving the gym. And I was like, oh, hey, man, I like your socks.
Yes.
He was like, yeah, man, thank you. I appreciate it. Stuck it out and everything like that. And he was like, oh, this is actually like my socks. Like, I designed these. I actually have a brand of that. And, just thinking of that, that is something that kind of came into fruition for you in a way of having it come from a dream. Yes. And so if that came from a dream, a lot of times people think dreams aren't something that they feel like they should execute. They think it's just like, it's just a dream, and they might share it with a friend or two. But after having that experience, what was your first action when you had that experience?
Yeah, and not say I'm a gullible person when it comes to dreams, but I had a dream also that I had LASIK eye surgery. So I ended up having LASIK eye surgery maybe a month after I had the dream. Wow. So this was in 2012. 13 rather, so 10 years ago, maybe April, and then I had the surgery in May of that year. 2012, I'm sorry. So 11 years ago, and I rarely remember dreams, so I guess we dream nightly or quite frequently, but I don't remember what I dreamt last night. Can't tell you.
Well, actually, believe it or not, they say that our dreams start within the 10 minutes before we wake up. So everything that happens in that dream, which is why we can't remember, it's such a fleeting thought that we think about it, and obviously some dreams have messages. And I think that, our dreams is just another way of us being able to visualize certain things, because there's a lot more creativity, not limitations. You're not distracted by anything. You're just doing one thing, that's sleeping. Right. But now you're more in touch with your spiritual side, and you're more aware of what's going on in your mind. Who is Lenny, and what does he want to do, or what would he like to do? Because obviously, in the beginning, when you had the idea, when you had the dream, and you spoke it out loud, you want to speak things into existence. But when other people heard it, it's like, that's not sustainable. Like, I don't know why you're even saying that. Yes. And then that's why a lot of times kids, end up not being creative, or they end up being shut in or an introvert, because, it starts with the family, or at least your surroundings, and with the culture. And as you brought up, being in the gym, I got my headphones in. I don't want to be spoken to. They got this mean mug on. Yeah. And, we don't know where that really came from. And it's unfortunate that's the case, because I know that there's other cultures in other cities where people are just so inviting and it's reinvigorating to feel that, last year me and Angel went to the concert in Boston, and we went to the park, and I just walked up and asked, because I know I'm a friendly person. So this is like a little social experiment, if anything, to see what it's like in Boston. And I said, hey, can I throw the football with you guys? I just want a toss or two. And me and Angel ended up being there for 15 minutes playing football with guys we didn't even know. Nice. And unfortunately, don't remember your names. Sorry, guys. I remember you. I love you. But, it's the idea that we made temporary friends in that moment. Right. And when a lot more people are just selfless, or at least being able to be okay with being selfless, and be like, hey, be open and be caring, because what else are we going to have left after this experience? Shutting people out and taking away that experience, or the opportunity for them to flourish in whatever experience it may be. And in that moment, it was just being able to engage with them and bring more closeness together.
Yeah, and believe it or not, most of the models on UpScale Socks on the social media platforms I've never met before until I reached out to them about being models. Yeah, wow. A lot of them might live in the region or other states, but they didn't follow me before that, never met them. I might have seen them before in certain spaces, but I think it's just being able to step out on faith and be creative and say, hey, you're bringing a different perspective outside of my, the resources I already have that I'm aware of. So I think that's a different aspect, too, that you may approach. And I'm okay with a no. A no may mean not right now. It doesn't always have to be like a hard no and no thank you, but being, I think, confident in that too, like going up, hey, would you be willing to be a model? Approaching in that way is kind of like taking me or the person outside their comfort zone, both for both, it may be a little awkward, but being willing to think of it from only a business aspect. I'm not sure if you saw the video I posted last week of the young lady with the hula hoops.
Yep.
I did.
Yeah. So I told her when I approached her, I said, I'm not trying to be that creepy guy in the gym, but I noticed you doing some creative, really out of the world creative things with hula hoops. Would you be willing? And she said, oh, absolutely. That sounds great. And
Look at that.
Yeah. So if I was one to just pass by, make no eye contact, and be as though I'm not admiring her work, or like from a distance, like filming her, then where would I be with that? Nowhere. And it really sparked great conversation with her, and even her journey and where she wants to go with that amazing talent and her aspirations. So that's just one example of many. But to go back to your question about how I started or why I started with the dream. So having the dream in 2014, telling a friend the next morning, we both thought it was a great idea, but I never worked in retail before. I have no experience. I'm a visual artist, but I never did any graphic design really on that level with vector art. I have a business, a minor in business, but never did anything beyond, like I said, kind of in that marketing management field when it comes to that. Photography is totally different, I feel. So kept trying to make some progress, but really wasn't going anywhere on my own. With finding manufacturers is like a big secret out there when it comes to who they are and how to turn, design into wearable art. Meet someone that's fluent in Mandarin, making no progress. So it was really complicated for about a year, but the idea never escaped me. I just couldn't let it go. I said, well, if other people are doing it in other spaces, then I can as well, right? It's certainly possible. And I wasn't really even saving for this venture. I just knew that God would provide the resources, the financial resources, the human resources, the time even to make it happen. Because we can always have excuses about how busy we are, doing other things, and but I consulted with a friend that's a graphic designer. He created my logo, and we came up with tagline and a name for the business. I think with my friend who I told the next morning, we came up with a name by tossing different ideas. My graphic design friend designed some socks, and we conceptualized some ideas. I had a sock design contest with Putnam Academy in Springfield, where they came up with several designs, and that helped me get some ideas for what their perspectives were back in 2015, 2016.
Oh, graduation.
So from there, I had a launch party in 2016 when I officially felt confident with about 25 designs and enough in time for the holiday season to sell to those that I invited. Over 200 people came to the launch party, so that gave me really good perspective on, what their feedback would be, what colors they like, and even though I did some surveying with a certain amount of people, that helped me even more with what children, looked for with colors and what parents shopped for and matching designs and all of that. So I also want to give back to the community, because I know with my photography business and personal training was more of a hobby. It wasn't necessarily an official business. Even though I got certified, it wasn't anything that I saw long term. It's just, people are asking me questions in the gym. I might as well come with some type of understanding or better understanding, right? But with those ventures, I never gave back in a tangible way. It was never on an ongoing basis, I should say. So I knew with UpScale Socks, I wanted to impact the community in some way. So being able to partner with nonprofits in the area, with donating socks every holiday season or throughout the summer, and then with scholarships as well, I just knew that, once again, back to that scripture, to whom much is given, much is required, and being able to, in some way, start in a way in a smaller way, but then grow it. And I'm amazed on how philanthropic and altruistic people are in the community, and people that never met me, going back to strangers. So people sending me money to go towards a scholarship, and they never met me.
Right.
But they trust that I will make this donation to a college-bound student, which is amazing. Yeah. And I'm humbled by that too, and grateful and thankful. So I still feel like we're just getting started when it comes to the business. Scratch the surface somewhat, but having fun watching it all happen once again organically, and not forcing anything down anyone's throat, or if you're interested, they're available, and if you need my services, you know how to find me, but not. I think there's an art to that too, with being in business, but approaching it in a aspect that is, I guess, graceful. At least that's been my story. Right. I think everyone may operate differently.
Right. I think not only that you persevered through having this dream and executing it, and you have your ups and downs, of course, of having a business and going with the flow, right? You don't want to feel as if like you're on the boat and I gotta like pedal to get to my destination, like now I'm overexerting myself, and I'm like I don't want to go anymore. Now we enter that mental burnout, and we don't realize that actually having a sense of relaxation is part of the process of working towards something. But what makes your business so special, though, is not just a sock business. So people that might be listening is like, socks, like, well, what if I don't wear socks? But
all right.
But it's like, the thing is that there's a message when you make these socks, and it's all about mental health awareness, and that's what makes it a lot more beautiful. So it's just like, it's not like you're just designing socks that look good. They have a purpose behind it. So not only they look good, they feel comfortable, because, by the way, I'm wearing some right now. Yeah. Hold on, I'm gonna poke it out real quick.
Pull it out. You gotta get.
Hold on.
Thank you for the support.
Feet together.
Yeah, there we go. So if you guys can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see that I got a blue one, and then you see puzzles. So this one I know is about autism and is giving a self-awareness. But the thing is that it's almost like an insider, because when you buy the purchase, it doesn't necessarily say that. So he has a creative way of like saying that, hey, this is the design for this mental health awareness, but also making it creative by giving it a nice name to it. So that's what I really appreciate.
And ironic that he got autism, because I got mental health awareness. So that's why the brain, and you actually have a green ribbon. And a lot of times, especially growing up, we're not told or suggested to worry about our mental health. We are told after that, and if anything, we're bringing this to doctors, not therapists. We're letting doctors take care of our mental health, and they're trying to take care of our mental health with medications, with chemicals that like not even is supposed to be in our body. Like I remember growing up, after having a couple of concussions over my sports career, having chronic migraines. So I obviously had my several takes with medications. But now that I'm older, it was literally this. Like I said, a couple months ago, I learned that instead of taking this medication, I could take a certain amount of almonds and consume that and let that kick in, and then it'll get rid of the migraine. So I was like, wow, like I didn't know that. And if I could be more natural, even with, as you brought up water earlier, and there's different types, I don't like to drink tap water anymore. I drink coconut water. I religiously buy enough for the week, go back to Walmart, restock and replenish, because coconut water gives more antioxidants, a lot more hydration compared to regular water. And I can say it's a better investment. And there are some takes or some products that could be a nice, pretty penny. However, when you invest into that and you obviously care about yourself enough or care about your career enough, like it doesn't matter how much it costs, or it doesn't matter how long it would take for the process, because as you mentioned, people want fast results. And let's say if I was to just start drinking coconut water, now I'm expecting to be, all right, I'm Superman. Right. I could run fast. I could do this and that. Exactly. So I'm glad that, at least for yourself, you were able to see that not only was it that it was going to take time, but for that dream. I want to ask, would you say the moment you realized the full details of that dream, would you say it was an epiphany then, or would you say the experience ended up making you realize that dream was an epiphany in creation?
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to also say health is wealth. So as as you're consuming something that may be more than what you may want to spend at the time, but it's long term you're thinking about, and you can't buy good health, or people that are not at their best would certainly dream of being at their healthiest versus having the resources or financial resources,
right?
To instead of, I should say, but I think the epiphany happened right then, because it was something like, wow, that's really interesting. And I didn't have a fascination with socks. I thought they were cool. I like fashion in general, but it wasn't anything as though, I had this huge collection. It was a nice size collection. I still have some of those styles, but most days I only wear my brand, except for in the gym. But I think right then it was pretty profound, but I think it had to be amplified by finding all of the right resources, since I never knew anything about it. I couldn't say I worked at the Gap and I knew about the supply chain. I knew about merchandising and how to display things properly and how to properly do inventory and how to set up a website to sell items. I knew nothing about that, and I had to learn by just reading and pursuing programs and asking people some questions, but appreciating the process. 2 years later, 2.5 years.
Yes, and it sounds like originally in the beginning you were looking at it from a microscope, but now that 20 years down the line and all this has come to fruition, now you can say that you're looking from a telescope, because with a telescope you can see at such a broad range and see so far that now it's not even just one goal, it's multiple goals, and there could be new goals that come along the way, whether they're smaller or big. So being mindful for that, and being open to letting things happen and giving things a chance.
Yeah, totally.
No, I was just, I'll let you finish. I have actually a question I'm keeping in mind for you. So whatever you had to say, you had something to say, go ahead.
Yeah. Just how, going back to things happening, like through serendipity, I didn't see myself even being asked to be on podcasts or being on panels or being a guest speaker or teaching business and mentoring businesses. So all of those things have happened organically, and by me saying yes and being willing to share and being able to put together presentations and share wisdom. So this past week at my church, I taught business to adults, and that birthed out so many ideas. And for them asking me questions and me being vulnerable and sharing, and I want to see them fly and to grow and to achieve their goals. And even 2 days ago, someone reached out to me who is starting a photography business, and I shared with him a lot of intel. I'm happy to. And I said, even if you win and become more successful or just as successful, great. That's what we want, people to thrive. And I don't see anybody or anything as a threat, because we can thrive together, right?
Exactly. I agree.
And so another thing, yesterday, someone inboxed me. She said, my children want to start a sock line. What do you think about that? I think it's great. There's enough to go around.
Why not?
Yeah. I won't share some of the ideas that she had yet. But I said, why? It's, once again, there's tons of everything, or a lot of things. So you create a lane, and I can support you in a different way or in the same way. Just like if I owned a brewery, I can, and we're in the same city, I can still admire what you're doing over there at the brewery and see that you succeed. Or we see oftentimes CVS and Walgreens across from each other, or Stop and Shop and Big Y, or I don't know. We don't
McDonald's and Burger King.
Yeah.
Like Family Dollar Tree.
Yeah. There's so many examples of that, and it works.
As far as with when you was making your sock line business, it's of course about mental health, as we stated. What made you want to make it about mental health? Was that part of your dream as well, or is that something that you integrated after coming into reality?
Yeah, it happened through a conversation with someone that worked at the Mental Health Association at the time. And so she reached out to me 3 years ago about collaborating on some designs and having it go towards some of their efforts there at that organization, and me sharing some information about how me being a black male and dispelling the myths of taking care of your mental health and supporting, different aspects of how you can become whole as a person and not try to shy away from the importance of whatever that may be for you, be it the fitness aspect or seeing a therapist or taking walks or reading or whatever it looks like. So I think that was the genesis of it 3 years ago, and seeing the beauty of how that has amplified further conversations.
Right.
You just never really realize the potential, I guess, with anything, and being bold and willing to step on faith. So even with AIDS Awareness Sock, someone shared with me, my son unfortunately passed of AIDS. Can you design something around that theme? That happened 2 years ago, and that has been wonderful as well, partnering with local organizations with their efforts, and Breast Cancer Awareness Month as well, having the Rays of Hope Walk that we have locally, and Relay for Life. And so hope to do more causes, as you mentioned, Autism Awareness Month, which is in April, partnering with Autism Speaks. Hopefully in the future, I've done some with some other grassroots organizations in the last maybe 4 years with autism. So
yeah,
it's endless.
I love that, to be honest, because mental health is something that we got to be more mindful of. And if we could put it onto what we wear, not only even in a creative way, it makes it a lot more purposeful. So we actually wanted to do a thing, and now that you're our first guest,
yes,
and it's 4 questions, and it's called the Rally for Cry.
Okay.
So us getting into this is how we're going to end our episode together. And so I'm going to ask you a question, and you can answer it to 1 word minimum, to a sentence maximum. You could, of course, it could go a little longer, but just a minimum, a word. So you could just say 1 word, and that's perfectly fine. So the first question is, what is something you believe in that others don't?
I believe in Generation Z. I believe others do as well, but I believe that Gen Zs are bringing something that we haven't seen before. I don't know if that was one sentence.
That was good. That was perfect. No, you're good.
That was great. I think obviously being the outlier to make a comment like that, I'm pretty sure there's other people that agree. I think that with a lot of changes and people who grew up with the foundations that they had, it's difficult to want to transition or allow new things to come in, because obviously our brains stop developing after the age of 25 or 26.
Yes.
So I understand why it may be hard for somebody else or a large group of people to agree that the new generation is going to bring us closer to what the next generation will continue on after that.
Yes. Yeah.
So the next question is, what is the worst advice you have received?
To quit.
To quit. That is the worst advice, to be honest. That sounds like
pretty demoralizing too.
Yeah,
because
that's what it is.
Not acknowledging that. However, if that was the only response, like just those 2 words, or however it was phrased, you can only imagine like how it's hitting you in the heart. Like, like, do you not believe in me? Is it like where did I go wrong? Like, did I not say it properly? Because I don't want you to be a yes man.
Wow.
However, you want me to quit? Like that's pretty tough. That's almost, I don't want to call it bullying, but it's almost like the idea, like, you don't want to see what I see, and to quit.
Yeah. It's a lot of fear that goes into that. I think where they're afraid that you're going to fail if you continue on. You're just going to waste time. You're going to waste money, or don't see the purpose behind it. So that's why it's so important to believe in yourself, no matter what, even if you don't have maybe friends or family supporting you. If you have this innate feeling that it's going to be successful, or you're having a good time enjoying it, then why not pursue it?
Becoming bulletproof.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep. Next question. What's the best advice you've received?
That I have your support no matter what.
That's so important.
Yes, that honestly resonates because I'm very big on support, like especially by words of affirmation and you saying that. If I was being told that, it would be like, that would really sing for my heart. Like my heart would be like, oh, like I needed to hear that. I feel that. So that's beautiful.
And that's not, I guess, so much like advice, but just kind of just support in general. I think comes along the lines of advice.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, I would say that counts.
Yeah, because like it's not that you need the support, because obviously you already believe in yourself and you have that desire. It's the fact that it's nice to have that support, knowing that somebody else can see your vision. So it's not like you need to send them to the doctors to get the new glasses. Right. They can already see it. So I'm glad that over time you were able to see and have that new filter. Like, okay, who genuinely believes in me, who genuinely supports me, and who just wants to be a supporter from the background without actually genuinely supporting me.
Yes. Yeah. There's some people that annually will buy, dozens of socks just to support and to give to their coworkers or their families, and they really see the value in what is happening, be it photography or especially during the pandemic. The support was tremendous. For people that want to make sure small businesses or minority-owned businesses were gonna survive.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to supporting yourself, that's the foundation. So you have like this big foundation here, but when you have other people that are able to support you and let you know, like, here, I'm here for you, you just have another like tower on top of that foundation that elevates you to go much more higher. And that's the point of having community, to working together, because I can support myself and be at this level, right? And I could get so far, but when I have a lot more other supports, it makes it a lot more sustainable, so that I can live more flourishing and do what I feel that I have to bring service to this world. So that's just adding on to that. So I thought that was very beautiful.
I like how you brought that up too, because it made me think about like how maybe this is your world and your world is a half of the world, because obviously you can only bring what you can. However, then other people that come around, you got this whole other universe that's coming together, and now it just makes this world complete. So you are already your own half. You're a whole yourself, but you're your own half, and being able to connect that half with others. Now you're just another puzzle piece, like Angel Socks, that are just coming together, and we're all just making this big masterpiece together.
Yes. So for our last question, are you ready?
Ready? I hope so.
All right. So our last question is: if you were able to travel through time and choose to give advice to your older self or your younger self, what would you say? So if you were to choose your younger or older, which one, and what advice would you give them?
I would say to my younger self, enjoy the journey, as I shared earlier. Don't sweat. I wouldn't say the small stuff. Oh, I guess I'm supposed to stick to one word or one line.
Hey, no, you're good. Hey, it's okay. Do the best you can.
I remember that tag, so I just already failed.
No, you're good. No.
It's not failure, it's a lesson.
Yeah, that's true.
There you go.
So you want me to continue on, or you want me to
go say it? Okay. Go ahead. Do the best you can.
Let the monologue happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, just enjoy the journey, because this is a good thing, but I was so stuck on like good grades and kind of being perfect and not necessarily enjoying high school to a certain level, because I had to take all these rigorous courses in order to prove how smart I am or be around like smart people. But it did help, right? Because when you go to a certain, maybe when you get in college, it may be easier or not as rigorous on some levels, but I don't know how much fun I had, but I had really good friends and really good teachers and people that encouraged, but I kind of relaxed a little bit in college, even though I still graduated in 3 years. But I don't know. I would just tell myself to enjoy the journey and not rush it.
Right.
Like, you have to be done
by this day.
Yeah. Have your master's at 22. But dude, like, no one's gonna hire you because you don't have any experience, right? So we're gonna be here a while. Enjoy the journey, like I was sharing earlier. Just relax, not recline so much, but take a deep breath and enjoy every step that you're taking. So just like it took me 2 years from vision to fruition for UpScale Socks. I worked on it religiously, but I enjoyed the journey. And I wasn't stressing out having to have this done by a certain date because I was telling people about it. Check out these designs. It's coming soon. Oh, when's it coming? You said it's going to be here in September. It's not here yet. No, I'm still working on it. Working on the kinks, making sure everything's well outlined, and you're going to be happy with the results. But there's that pressure, too, that comes along with the journey. But knowing that at the end of the day, it's your own mental health and your own well-being, and there's other aspects besides just the work that we're doing in business or in life, but us being well in other ways too, I think is critical. So
wow,
I'm glad.
Enjoying the journey is important as telling the 12-year-old or the 15-year-old or the 18-year-old or 25-year-old.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, to anybody out there, I hope that helps, because I mean, enjoying the journey. We get so frustrated and get upset, like, oh, why can't it be like this? And as Angel mentioned earlier, like, the mental burnout is actually stronger than we think it is. And if we can acknowledge in the process or in real life time that, okay, it's not going how I would like it to. Okay, let me breathe and let me see how I can improve. How can I improvise? Because now, not saying that you need to improvise everything, but being able to change your route, change your plan along the way. Because if your plan isn't flexible and can't afford these unpredictable circumstances, then your plan isn't as strong as it is. Because now you were looking so straightforward that now that this random occurrence happened, now you feel like your whole plan is a failure and is not as perfect as you thought it was.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Be anxious for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There's more to that scripture, but that's the main gist of it, I think. And just it talks about making requests known to God, and God will sustain you along that journey of anxiety, if you will. But that's helped me in so many different ways when it comes to just, it wasn't meant to be, or it wasn't meant to go that way, and I'm just gonna do my part, because in other scriptures, faith without works is dead. We can have the faith, but if we're not putting in the work, then it's void.
Yep. Agreed. Everybody, Lenny Underwood.
Lenny Underwood, jack of all trades,
really
master of none. Right?
Hey, there we go. Love that. Oh my God, this was so refreshing, honestly, and getting to talk a little bit more about what you do, your perspective, and just letting everyone know that is listening, like, you can actually make your dreams come true, but there's some work that you have to do behind it. So I hope everybody that is listening, you guys got something from this, and feel free to give it a couple of tries, to re-listen. If it's something that really stand out to you, let us know in the comments, tag us, anything like that. And also, if you want to get a pair of nice comfy socks, go to UpScaleSocks.com. We'll make sure that we put that in the description so you guys could go right to it and get some comfy socks. Just why not? And support not only the business, but more importantly, the self-awareness about mental health, so we can destroy the stigma together. So I hope everybody has a great day. And until next time, I don't know if, Tyler, you have anything to say?
I hope everybody has a lovely day and stay peaceful.
Lenny, any last words before we go?
Stay consistent, my friends.
Stay consistent. All right, everybody. Until next time, y'all be easy.
Y'all be breezy.
Peace.